your model for blockchains and networks and tokens, all of these things, is different, I think, than some other people's, right? Some people talk about kind of a general ledger and all of these things. I think you would agree to that. But your main model, it seems to me, Chris, is this is a new type of computer. And I'm wondering if you, yeah, tell us about that. Why the computer lens on it? Like,
Well, so to me, the difference between like a ledger. So, okay, so what is a computer? A computer is, going back to Alan Turing's famous paper that kind of that defined it. It's something that can both store information but also act on that information, right? So the analogy I like to use is both nouns and verbs, right? So the nouns are you store. The nouns are the things in the world, the things you store, your Bitcoin balance, your Ethereum balance, your state. And the verbs are the code that let you operate on that, right? That's what a computer, so you look at your iPhone, you have the two main things, right? Are the processor, which is the thing that processes the verbs, and then the hard drive, which is the storage, right? So to me, I just think ledger undersells it, right? So I'm not saying blockchains aren't a ledger, but it's just, to me at least, it suggests the hard drive, not the hard drive plus the processor. And so, I think a stronger formulation is to say, no, it's both, right? It's both. And you can, and just in the same way. And that's important because there's a very important feedback loop that computers have. Because computers, I call it the platform app feedback loop, the platform application feedback loop. And I believe that this feedback loop is that people talk about things like Moore's law, which is that you can pack more semiconductors on chips, but really, there's a broader kind of economic phenomenon at work in the history of computing, which has made computing evolve so quickly. And so if you take a look at your iPhone as an example, my iPhone today that I have is much better than the iPhone I had in 2007, but also the apps have gotten much better, right? And those two things have mutually reinforced each other, right? So the first iPhone came out, and then somebody created like a fun game that got popular, and that sold more iPhones, and that gave Apple more money to make the phone better, and the camera got better, and then someone created Instagram, and then Instagram took advantage of the camera. And so you had this back and forth kind of flywheel, right? And that's what happens with you don't have that, to my knowledge, you don't have that with ledgers. You have that with computers. Because computers are, anyone can come along, any of the 8 billion people on Earth or let's say the 100 million subset who like to program computers can come along and write an application for the Ethereum blockchain. And one of those applications might become popular. And if it becomes popular, that puts more money back into the Ethereum world. That makes indirectly lets Ethereum get better. That in turn gives people the ability to write more apps. And so you get these flywheel feedback loops with computers that I don't think you get with ledgers. I just think ledgers undersells it. I'm not saying it's not a ledger. Sure, you can store balances like a ledger on an Ethereum blockchain or a Bitcoin blockchain or almost any blockchain. But the fact that you can write arbitrary code and write arbitrary apps, to me, makes it makes a much more accurate term as a computer. Now, by the way, people think computer, they think of a physical computer. I mean, we've had virtual computers for decades. I mean, so VMware is this huge company that built that was built on virtual computers. A computer is defined both historically and whether it's Alan Turing or just the usage of the word before that, through its functional properties, not its physical properties, right? So, like, of course, Ethereum is not a computer in the sense that you go pick it up and it's a physical device, but it's a computer in function, right? It's a set of computers networked together that come together and every block do a straight state transition and change the state according to computer code, which is exactly what a computer does, right? So the interface that the end user or the developer interacts with is a computing interface, even if it's sort of at a layer of abstraction above the actual physical
The other
device.
thing I find with this analogy where maybe tech people get thrown off is that they look at this and they're like, that's your computer, 15 transactions per second. What are you even talking about?
Well, look, if you're Google, if you're an employee at Google, you see the world through the lens of let's optimize performance. How can we pack more, more performance into the CPU or the GPU or the storage or the networking, right? Blockchains are designed to, in many ways, to limit the power of those companies, and specifically, what can you? One of the things you can do with a blockchain. I mean, what I describe a blockchain as a computer that can make commitments. So you can say, I can write code in a blockchain that says, internet service, am never going to go take your data and do bad stuff with it. Okay. people at Google like the fact that they have a 35-page privacy policy, which nobody reads, which they can change at will and do whatever the hell they want with your data. That's the state of the internet today. The state of the internet today, like the assurances that you have from internet companies, it's the most absurd system in the world, is you get these pop-ups that have literally 50-page legal agreements, which I bet you nobody in the world has actually read, nor could read, nor could understand, that you click I agree to, and then you hand over all of the power for these companies to do whatever they want. So somebody who's sitting in that position, like someone at Google or Meta, and they say, like, this is how we interact with users, this is how we make promises to users, these 50-page legal agreements that we unilaterally control and no one understands, why would they want a computer that undermines that power, right? So, like, look, it's a trade-off. Yes, blockchains have worse performance. Like, you pay for the consensus. Right, these properties that we like, that this group here speaking likes about blockchains, that they can make strong commitments, that they can guarantee digital ownership, that you can create tokens and other kinds of things like that, does come at a cost, and that cost is performance generally, but if you believe that there's value in having internet services that can make strong commitments to users and can't just sort of arbitrarily control how all the money flows, the data flows, and everything else, that may be a trade-off worth making.
To continue leveling up your crypto game, then you need to get on the Bankless newsletter. It's the world's most popular crypto email and is completely free. Just click below to sign up.